Hello, Aries. I'm Poetic Heretic, and this is your October 2019 tarot forecast. So, I have already shuffled cards prior to this video for you, and we're going to see what we can find out in addition to your astrology that I already looked at from this tarot reading about your month of October 2019. So, the very first card. Oh, and I should also mention that just for this month, since it is Halloween this month, I am using the Tarot of Vampires by Ian Daniels, a very sort of like dark, gothic, vampire themed tarot deck, since I think that's quite appropriate for the Halloween season. So, the first card you got in the Celtic Cross spread for October is the Magician for your current outside influences. So let me hold that up to the camera, show you what that looks like in this particular deck. This is how you are beginning the month of October with the energy of the Magician. And so, as we already saw in the astrology, we just had the new moon on September 28th. And so, October 1st, we're still sort of in that new cycle energy, new lunar cycle. And the Magician is all about new beginnings, openings, initiation. But what the Magician is really about, though, is taking reality and recreating it as you see fit. It's like the scientist who takes the natural materials of the world, the naturally occurring elements, and uses them in a very clever, mental, sort of technological way to recreate them, to make something new out of them that is advantageous to himself or herself. It is the energy of scientific thinking. It's also the energy of sort of being up to a challenge, I would say. Feeling like you're able to be innovative enough to handle whatever comes at you. So, very good card to start out the month of October with. For the challenge this month, you got the 8 of Skulls. So let me bring that around here and show that. This is equivalent to the 8 of Pentacles in the classic Rider-Waite deck. There it goes, focusing. So this is your challenge card for this month. And the 8 of Skulls or 8 of Pentacles, it talks about the idea of working steadily away at something that is interesting to you, that is exciting to you, that you have passion for. And of course, I'm fixing the cards here, otherwise it's going to drive me crazy. And of course, as we saw in the astrology, there's a lot of that 8th house activity this month. And of course, this is an 8, and so 8th house activity is implied. And thus, therefore, a lot of that passion for things. So your challenge this month is to continue working away at what you're passionate about or what excites you or interests you. Perhaps also it could be maybe in some cases, if you're sort of maybe stuck with some menial work or monotonous work, then your challenge is to continue working away at that until you can find something better. And that would kind of also go along with that Mars in the 6th house activity that we saw in your astrology, prioritizing work, prioritizing day-to-day activities, or especially day-to-day work in that way. So that's what you have there. For the underlying energy, you have the Ace of Scepters. This is correspondent to the Ace of Wands in a typical tarot deck. Don't know if it wants to focus for us, but that is what the card looks like. Maybe these cards, they may be dark, but they are rather beautiful. I guess it's not going to focus for us. Well, oh well. They have their own sort of dark beauty. So the Ace of Scepters or Ace of Wands, underlying energy, everything forming the foundation for your current situation, as well as the people around you and your immediate environment. This is talking about concentrated energy, vitality, initiation, beginning something new, starting something new, going for it, seizing the day. All of this sort of new energy. The aces are all about new, starting something new, that which is new. And it's interesting because we just talked about the Magician card that you also got, which talks about starting something new. So look for that to be happening this month. This could be within yourself. It could be other people around you. Could be both. Perhaps other people are supporting you and beginning new things, taking action, especially with being Ace of Scepters or Wands, fire, action, taking action for new things. So an excellent card to get, indeed. For the past, talking about that which has happened that has led to the present or to this month of October for you. You got the Four of Grails, equivalent to the Four of Cups in a typical deck. So let me hold that up here. So this one, it's focusing right away for us. So the Four of Grails or Four of Cups, especially if we look at the classic Rider-Waite meaning, is talking about the universe offering you something that you are not being open to, that you are resistant to for some reason. So for some of you in the past, something may have been offered to you and maybe you did end up taking it, and that has led to the current sort of new beginning and recreating your reality as you see fit, as we saw with the Magician. That's happening at the beginning of October. Or maybe something was offered to you and you didn't take it, and you had to start again. You had to let that thing go and start on something new. With this card, it really could go either way, but it's this idea of something was offered to you, and depending on what kind of decision you made in that situation, that has led to your current situation of recreating your reality as you see fit, of needing to continue working away at what excites you or what you're interested in, things of that nature. For what you hope to achieve, you got the Daughter of Scepters reversed. So I'm going to just flip it up right for showing what it looks like up close. This card is equivalent to the Page of Wands in the classic Rider-Waite deck. There it goes. Now it focused. So when a card is reversed, one of the most common things that indicates is simply that the energy is blocked. And especially, I would say, when it falls in this kind of position, like your highest hope or what you hope to achieve or whatever. So I would say, well, actually, there's a couple different ways this could go. I would say the most likely thing, because of what we've already seen in this reading, is this is saying you are wanting to start something new this month. You're trying to follow your inspiration. This card talks a lot about that. You're trying to sort of almost like kindle a new flame, and make it into a full-blown fire, a full-blown blaze. Again, this is scepters or wands, which are the element of fire. Because, we had the Magician, we had the Ace of Scepters, all this stuff indicating new beginnings, and especially with the Ace of Scepters, inspiration. And with the reversal, it's like you're wanting to overcome some kind of blockage to your inspiration and to starting something new. However, a less common possibility, but it could still be there from my experience with this card, or the Rider-Waite equivalent at least over the years, is you might be reaching for a state of affairs where you can take things easier, where perhaps you don't have to be highly strung, or you're more relaxed, you're more calm, that sort of thing. That's a bit of a positive spin to the reversal of this card. But really, with the other cards we see here, I think the vast majority of you are probably wanting to start something new this month. You're wanting to follow your inspiration and overcome a sort of blockage to that. And especially with what we see in your astrology, all of that deep, dark, intense 8th house activity, possibly not all that likely that you're going to be in the mood to take it easy this month. So we shall just say that. For the near future, you got the 6 of Knives. This is equivalent to the 6 of Swords, or at least correspondent to the 6 of Swords in a classic deck. Let's see if it wants to focus for us. Well, regardless, with this being the near future, this is going to talk about the first week or two of the month. And this card, in a more sort of negative, or at least melancholy sense, it can often talk about the idea of having to move on from something, moving forward, but it's often a painful moving forward. It's not easy, like moving on from an older relationship. Weirdly enough, speaking of relationships, we saw with your astrology, all of this stuff going from your 7th house of relationships to your 8th house of intensity and secrets and business and other people's money and all this stuff. But the point being the focus going away from relationships. Now, that's not to say that that's an absolute, but it's interesting that we get this card as if saying, oh, in the first week or two, which is where a lot of that 7th to 8th house stuff took place, you're having to move forward from something. You're having to move on from something. However, in a much more positive sense, I mean, I guess that can be positive too, moving on from something that was not good for you. It's ultimately positive, but in a more good feeling sense, the 6 of Knives can talk about actually moving forward with a positive attitude, with a sort of mental clarity. I mean, this is in the Thoth deck titled Science. It's the idea of, it is like that scientific mind. And it's interesting that we got the Magician card, because that's like the scientific mind. But that idea of, oh, let's use our mind to figure things out and move forward with a positive attitude and sort of mental clarity. And it's that sort of optimism of let's figure out something new. Let's create some new technology to solve our problems rather than think that they're unsolvable. And again, that ties back into the Magician card that we got for you earlier. So a lot of problem solving, perhaps, especially early in the month. For your attitude or position in the situation, about halfway through the month, you got the 6 of Skulls. And here's what that looks like. This is equivalent to the 6 of Pentacles in a classic deck. Don't know if it's going to focus for us, but there you have it. So the 6 of Skulls, very positive card. And again, this is describing how you're feeling, not necessarily what's happening, but at least how you're feeling. Talks about being rewarded for work that you've done, getting the payoff and rewards. So you at the very least feel like you're being rewarded, even if you're not literally being rewarded, but you quite possibly are literally being rewarded. It's a card of generosity and integrity. It's a card of sort of, especially with that sixth house energy. And notice the previous card also was a six. And so you have your sixth house activated here as well. That energy of working away at things, your day-to-day activities, your health. It's interesting that you do start off the month with Mars in your sixth house, which is going to have you prioritizing work and your day-to-day activities and your health. And so what the cards might be emphasizing here is that even once Mars moves into your seventh house of relationships, you're still going to be prioritizing your work. And remember, we also got the Eight of Skulls for your challenge card, which would be a further indicator of that. Like your work is still important to you this month. So is your health. So are your day-to-day activities, your routine, that sort of thing. And again, you're feeling like, in all likelihood, one way or another, like you're getting rewarded for the work that you've done. So that's good pretty much any way you slice it. For the outside force coming in, something coming at you, likely later in the month, you got the Two of Grails reversed. So I'm just going to flip it upright to show you what it looks like. This is equivalent to the Two of Cups in the classic deck. And you got it for the outside force coming in. Don't know if it wants to focus or not. Well, anyway, so unfortunately, we do like this card a lot more when it's upright. When it's reversed, it's like saying there could be some kind of, well, it could be a problematic person who tries to get into a relationship with you, or it could be someone you're already in a relationship with who presents some kind of challenge, significant challenge to you, because when this card's upright, it talks about harmony in relationships. It talks about sort of deep union between a person, usually in a romantic relationship, though sometimes it can be a friendship also. While when it's reversed, something is amiss in all of that. Some will say that this card is so positive that even in its reversal, it's still positive. I don't really buy that. I think if it's reversed, the card might be saying, well, maybe it's not the end of the world, but there's something amiss. There's some issue that needs to be looked at. There's some challenge that is presenting itself to you. And remember, this is the outside force coming in. Now, it could even be, consider this, however, it could even be that this is someone who needs help with relationships, that this is someone who's going through a challenging time in their relationship, not with you, but with someone else. And perhaps you are going to be the one to assist this person in this relationship challenge. So consider that as well. We always have to keep that in mind with the outside force coming in. For hopes or fears, you got the 10 of Knives. So this is not representing anything that is for sure happening either, just like the Six of Skulls and your attitude or position. This is just more of what you're feeling. So the 10 of Knives, in a more negative sense, well, first of all, I guess let me hold this up as well so you can see what it looks like better. This is equivalent to the 10 of Swords in the classic deck. I don't think it's going to focus for us, unfortunately, but the 10 of Knives in a more negative or challenging sense is going to talk about disaster, feeling defeated, feeling perhaps even backstabbed, feeling like all is lost, hitting rock bottom, that sort of thing. So some of you may be afraid of that. But in a more positive sense, this card is often an indicator of the idea of shattered illusions, of the truth coming out, of getting to the actual reality of something, and no more lies, no more deception. And so you may be sort of hoping for that, reaching for that. And it's interesting when we look at, the 2 sixes, talking about that energy correspondent to the sign of Virgo with that precision for focus, and also the Magician talking about mental clarity. It could be that there's a situation that you're hoping to really get to the truth of this month. You are wanting to investigate something and get to the bottom of it. You want to figure out the reality of the situation. I think that's a significant probability with the other cards we see here. We aren't really seeing too much indicating the potential for disaster, like the more negative implication of this card is. So there you have it. But here's the thing, even if it was referring to disaster in this instance, it's still just in your hopes or fears. It's still just a fear that you have. There aren't actually any cards here that are really truly indicating any real probability of any disaster. This is a largely positive reading. So on that note, the final outcome card, how you conclude the month of October 2019, is the Chariot. So let's show that up close here. Obviously, I don't need to say which card this corresponds to in the classic, because here it is also just called the Chariot. Oh, I think it focused at the last second. Oh no. Oh well, let's just get on with the reading. So the Chariot is all about the idea of having a healthy ego, of being able to push forward with determination and resolution. It can talk about this idea of sort of armoring, and it's interesting because it's ruled by the sign of Cancer. Cancer, the crab, which has the hard outer shell, but the sort of soft, vulnerable interior, because the sign of Cancer is a very emotional sign. It's a water sign, and it has that vulnerability, but then it also has the hard outer shell. And the Chariot card is really emphasizing that hard outer shell part of things. It's emphasizing being able to push forward in an almost emotionless sense, with great power and determination. And so that's an excellent way to conclude the month of October. It's saying that, all of this stuff that has happened, you're sort of recreating your reality as you see fit, as we saw with the very first card, and you're working hard and getting rewarded for it, or at the very least feeling like you're getting rewarded for it. You're finishing strong with the Chariot, moving forward with power and determination, and perhaps even a sort of impenetrable stoicism at the end of October of 2019. So that's excellent. It may also point to, in some cases, the activation of more emotional issues, since it is ruled by Cancer, things that are very personal, deeply personal to you, sort of like the private world, needs, wants, desires, personal belongings that hold sentimental value, that sort of thing. And of course, it's interesting because the full moon this month, and sure, that's more around the middle of the month, but nevertheless, it is in your sign of Aries, in your first house of self. And so all of that which is personal to you. So that may come into play here as well. But regardless, overall, it's a really good reading. It's a really great reading. And for those of you who know me, you know that my spiritual practice is authenticity. And so I wouldn't be telling you that this is a really good, overall, very positive reading if I did not genuinely see it as that. So That's awesome, Aries. I hope you enjoy this. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back again with more astrology and or tarot videos. So in the meantime, I hope you have a great October 2019, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.